Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to the Cold-Blooded Killer. Man, I am just consistently inconsistent with when my uploads are going to come out, aren't I? And also what I'm doing right now, because, yeah, this is a completely different style of video. There's actually a screen, and I'm recording on something that isn't just a phone. I know, it's weird, but there's a reason for this. I got a screen recorder, and now I can actually make videos. Sorry for the bad mic quality. I don't have a good microphone, so yeah. So you might be wondering what we're doing. I'm going to be reviewing my console tier list that I made on my Instagram, which will be in the description of the video. Now, this is going to be weird because, as you can see, the tier list is empty. I'm going to be filling it in as we go and explaining each placement. Now, there will be a few differences from the one on Instagram, the most recent one, so you should go check that out, and then come back to this video. And okay, so you check that out. Let's begin. And also, no face cam. I don't think anyone wants to see my ugly face anymore, honestly, but let's begin with the most easy placement. You know, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me on this. The Wii U, it was bad. It didn't have great hardware. It came out in 2013, same year as the Xbox One and the PS4. Did not have good hardware, barely any exclusives, and it just kind of sucked. It just wasn't good overall. And we're wondering, why is there no F tier? Why is it not an F tier if it is the worst console? Because it doesn't belong there, because the exclusive it had on it weren't bad. I don't think that it was horrible. It just definitely was not good. Okay. Moving up a tier, it stays alone. Speaking of alone, the Xbox One. Let's be real, no one cared for this console, because similar to the Wii U, it had barely any exclusives, and a lot of people just didn't bother to play it. Why is it higher tier? Because of a very, very simple reason. The exclusives it had were decent. Honestly, I think the Wii U might have been a tiny bit better, but the hardware was really good, and the accessibility to older Xbox games gives it the edge over the Wii U. Alright, moving up a tier again to the PlayStation 3. Now, PS3. This was not bad. In fact, it was good, but it wasn't amazing. The hardware was not superb. It was not one of the better exclusives at the time. The exclusives were not great. They weren't. Most of them. There were some that were spectacular, fantastic. The problem is now, unlike certain other consoles that you might see on the list, it's very easy to get a lot of those exclusives on the PS4. But for its time, even then, still really good. It does not belong in C or D, but I think it does belong in B. Alright? Yeah, the Nintendo 64. It's better than the PS3. For sure. No, wait, that's not a game. That's not a 64. I messed up. That's not a 64 at all. That's a GameCube. The GameCube is not at all bad, and it's better than the PS3, but not by a lot. Unfortunately, this console suffers from having a lot of weird games. It was a very weird console. However, some of those weird games were insanely good and had some really cool things. Melee was a very good example of that. Super Mario Sunshine, Metroid Prime, all of those are really good games, and they were all on the GameCube. It was a very good console. Not amazing, but very good. I was very harsh on my previous tier list. Now, the OG Xbox. Honestly, this is really, really good console and an amazing start to the Xbox legacy. It had a lot of strong contenders for competing with its competition of the GameCube and the PS2, which we'll get to later. However, the ability to play games on later consoles really takes the Xbox down a notch. It's still great, but then again, playing them on the One is not the most desired thing. Now, this one is probably the most controversial. 360 in B tier? But it has really good exclusives. In fact, it's by far the best so far. So why would I put it down in B tier? Why not higher? The hardware. The fact that the first edition of this thing had a 50% chance of just dying. And it couldn't be fixed. Xbox barely fixed any of them. And instead, they just released a new version that actually worked. Now, if that was the first one to come out, this would definitely be an A. For sure. It would absolutely be an A. Possible S. But just because of that, I'm going to have to put it down B. That's just not good. Now, moving on to A tier. These are the consoles that I believe are great. These are really, really great. But they maybe just have like one or two things that weren't amazing about them. The Wii, for example. The Wii was great. It is a lot of people's childhood, especially in Gen Z. And it was a spectacular console with a lot of really good games on it. The problem was, it also had a lot of shovelware, and that shovelware weighs the console down. But ignoring that, it was spectacular, man. I think we can all agree the Wii was great. Speaking of great, Switch. The Switch. I think some people view it very harshly. And even though in recent times we've definitely seen that the Switch and Nintendo are not the best, it seems like it's finally starting to pick up and we're getting into the really good section. We started off really great with stuff like Smash Bros. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but now, and Breath of the Wild, of course. But now we're getting into some more classic Nintendo things. We got Mario Golf, Metroid Dread, which I'm very excited for. And just WarioWare is coming out this year as well. We got a lot of good games coming up, and I think the Switch deserves to be an A tier. It's a very good console. It's a great console. But it gets beaten out by the very first Nintendo home console, the NES. Because this was the start. And even though you can play a lot of the NES games on the Switch, I still have to put it above it because it was the start. It was the beginning. It was the first real console that so many people loved. Sure, there was stuff before it, like the Atari, but this pushed gaming to the next level. And I have to give it a lot of credit for that. Speaking of pushing gaming to the next level, these next two both have that in common. The PS1. The PlayStation 1 was fantastic. It was great. At the time, it's a bit dated now, especially with the controllers that don't have analog sticks. But after they got those, the PS1 is amazing, having some amazing games on it, and a great start to the PlayStation legacy. It definitely has dated a bit, but it also revolutionized 3D gaming. But all those things just get improved with the arrival of the Nintendo 64. The 64 is fantastic. It is so good. Has some of the best games ever made on the console. Is really, really revolutionary as it's the first actual 3D console. Had an insanely huge lineup of games that a lot of people still play nowadays. So why is it not an S tier? The controller. It's the damn controller. I think we can all agree this controller sucks ass. It sucks hard ass. But like, aside from that, it's great. Give this thing a PlayStation 1 controller or a GameCube controller, it would be S. But right now, unfortunately, I gotta put it down in A tier. But now we're moving on to S. The final 3 consoles. Starting with the PlayStation 4. Out of all the modern consoles, the PS4 dominated the market. Sure, in early years, it didn't have a lot going for it. You had stuff like Batman Arkham Knight, it wasn't exclusive, but it was very, very good. Or was it exclusive? Was it exclusive? Might have been. I don't think it was. I'm gonna have to find that out later. And the PS4, just really good. It was really good at the beginning, but it wasn't amazing. Then it got spectacular in its late years. Like, we got hit in 2018 with Spider-Man, God of War, both of those combined, that was too much for me, man. I couldn't handle that. Those 2 of the best games I've ever played. Side by side, 2020, we got Ghost of Tsushima, Persona 5 came out on this thing, man. What? Why is this? It's so amazing and great, and the controller feels spectacular to hold, and it's great hardware. It ran some of those beautiful, breathtaking games. Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn. It deserves to be an S. But the SNES, I think, tops it, because similar to the NES, I gotta pay respect to the old games. Unlike the NES, even though I have to pay a lot of respect to it and its games are fun, you cannot beat a lot of the NES games because they were bullshit. The SNES was truly fun and was the true next big step in gaming in terms of game design. Because the graphics, they didn't improve a ton, they improved enough to make the games look really good, and sometimes they look beautiful. But this was the beginning of some of the greatest game design in history. You go back and play some of these games and you'll be amazed at how good they are. I'm currently playing Super Metroid. It's one of the best games I've ever played. It's amazing. Thankfully, there's games on the Nintendo Switch. So, yeah, I recommend go playing some of those, if you have online, of course. But finally, what I believe to be the best console of all time, the PlayStation 2. Let's go over all the things that made good consoles in the past. It was revolutionary for its time. Had a great controller. Amazing hardware for its time and could still hold up nowadays. Amazing exclusives. A great total lineup of games in general. Combine all 5 of these things, and you get the PlayStation 2. It revolutionized gaming as a whole with some of the best games ever made on this thing. It killed the market, and still today dominates every other console at 152 million copies sold. Not many consoles can hold up to that. PlayStation truly made gaming this. And hopefully they can continue on the saga with the PS5, which, I'm still waiting for it to come out. They said it would come out in 2020, but it never did. Some people got early copies, but I'm still waiting for it to come out. You know what? Wait. Man, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, baby, the Ouya! Of course the Ouya is the best. I mean, it was so good. I mean, who didn't like the Ouya? Who did not like the Ouya? Like, the Ouya, it was so good. Everyone loved the Ouya. Everyone loved it. It was amazing. It was spectacular. It was absolute hot garbage, and I don't understand why they made it. It was so bad. So unbelievably bad that I'm giving it its own tier. No. That's all I have to say to you, Ouya. No. I have one of these things. It's not good. It's just... it's not good. It's not good. It's so good, man. If you ever want to get one of these things, don't. There's no reason to go back to the Ouya. Absolutely no goddamn reason. And with that, we're finished with my console tier list. Ignore these consoles at the bottom. a lot of these are portable or from Sega. We don't count Sega here. They don't count. A lot of these are portable or very obscure. We're not talking about those. We're talking about the main line consoles. And I believe this is my definitive tier list on what we have here. I think it's pretty accurate, but if you have some differing opinions, leave it down in the comments. I want to hear your guys' opinion. What consoles you think were great, and which ones you think were not so great. I really hope this tier list speaks to you as well, because I think it speaks pretty well. I know I'm harsh on Xbox and it seems like I'm biased towards PlayStation, and the answer to that is yes, I very much am. Originally, if you'll notice, I actually had this one way lower, and I decided to move it up just because I realized how good the exclusives are. If it didn't have that crashing problem, the Red Ring of Death, yeah, it would be higher, but aside from that, yeah, everything else on here, I think it's justified. I think gives everything to behold and just, yeah, you know what? Alright, I think that's it. I think I'm done with this video. Hopefully this is the start of something new on this channel. I really hope that you guys enjoy this content, and I really hope I can get a little audience here. I hope some people find this video. And whoever is watching this, I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye everybody, stay safe, and enjoy life.